It's Sunday, September 5th, and once again out here in the Great Plains, we have a small risk of severe weather. It's just going to be a very isolated marginal risk, mostly stretching through central Kansas, even to a small portion of southern Nebraska. Then that same system is just going to bring a lot of general thunderstorms all the way from the Texas Panhandle to the U.S.-Canada border and parts of Minnesota and South Dakota, then even Wisconsin and the Michigan Peninsula. And then we're going to see a lot of showery activity in the southeastern corner of the state once again. Now back to our main risk of severe weather. It's mostly going to be a wind threat, potentially seeing some damaging gust in that 60-mile-an-hour range. And then for hail, we're also going to see a potential for that as well. Nothing crazy though, only going to be in that 1 to 1.5 inch realm. And this is probably how it's going to unfold today. We are going to see those first storms initiated in our main risk for severe weather in parts of central Kansas around the late afternoon and evening hours, potentially bringing that threat for some damaging winds and hail. These storms are going to be the strongest in their earlier stages before this whole line kind of explodes with activity and it gets a lot more linear and disorganized. Then we're going to likely see some outflow driven, really disorganized storms, not really producing those severe threats, still probably being strong thunderstorms in parts of our severe risk area though. Then the rest of that thunderstorm area is just going to see a lot of the same thing, just not as strong, a lot less organized, still some gusty thunderstorms. Not really going to see a hail threat with any of this stuff kind of north of southern Nebraska all the way up to the US-Canada border though. And then our tornado threat is going to be essentially zero with all this activity as well because of its linear and disorganized nature. Then also our ingredients aren't really just that present to see something like that unfold. Then taking a peek in the southeastern corner of the state, it's just going to be once again a very showery weather pattern going on out here, kind of with some of the tropical stuff that was unfolding, but it didn't really form into anything. We can kind of see that out here meandering in the Gulf. That's also going to bring a couple of effective warm fronts and stationary fronts and other embedded low pressure systems. And that's just the reason why we're seeing a lot of that showery activity kind of prevailing today. Then it's also probably going to be a little breezy out here, making for some nice weather other than these showers. And then this is the big trough really responsible for all of this. We can see a lot of flow kind of stretching in front of that main area where we're going to be seeing a lot of our storms today, and that pretty confined line actually, it's going to be initiated by this big trough right here. And this is the environment that we can expect to see in front of those storms, a decently unstable environment around 2,000 Cape, some decent 3 Cape around 70. Then also our downdraft Cape and precipitable water aren't going to be bad at all to see some damaging winds. We also are going to see some drier aloft. It's not likely to get super mixed down though, but potentially that could get drugged down by some of the downdrafts of our storm, further intensifying them, bringing those damaging gusts. Now we're definitely going to see enough moisture for some severe weather today, a 64 dew point, and then our low level lapse rates are going to be pretty solid as well. Now something to note is that our organizational shear is actually going to be pretty good because we're going to have that big trough bringing a lot of that. So we definitely could see some of these storms get organized in their earlier stages before they kind of turn into a disorganized cluster in that big line of storms. So definitely another reason why we could potentially see some hail with this. Another reason for the hail is that up near our freezing layer, we have quite a bit of Cape as well. So definitely we could see some 1 to 1.5 inch hail. The main hindrance of that though is going to be that linear mode. And then for tornadoes, it looks like our cloud base is just going to be a little bit too high, and then our shear characteristics are not going to be there at all. And then also, once again, it's a linear mode, pretty much making the threat for that zero. But all the other risk of severe weather, so damaging winds and hail, are definitely going to be in play in our marginal risk area today. Now moving away from severe weather and taking a look into the tropics, our big area of interest out here in the main development region has once again seen a uptick in the confidence that it could form. Now it's at a 60%, but one thing to notice is that kind of this area has curved a little bit towards the north and west, kind of pointing out that we are likely to see this system, even if it does form, just kind of get punched back out to the Atlantic like we've been seeing with pretty much every storm this season so far, with that consistent pattern of fronts coming off the U.S., punching storms out, and then a high pressure system kind of just lingering, and these storms getting caught on it and just thrown out to sea as well. And then this little blob, which we did see kind of over here in the southeastern part of Florida has moved out into the Gulf, and it now has a 0% chance of forming. We didn't think this would form into anything anyways, but this is one of the main causers for that big showery region in the southeastern US right now. And the model data kind of supports all of that. Here is the euro, and this is going to be that area of interest that we're currently watching that has a 60% chance of formation. The euro has been a little bit shy on forming this, but models like the GFS have shown big confidence that this could form and is something. And then we're going to see that it's really just going to get sucked up by one of those fronts coming off the US and then kind of punched out to sea with a high pressure system kind of behind it, not really leaving any room for it to kind of sneak in and impact the United States. So it looks like we're safe on this storm for now. Could this change? Yes, because this is still far out, but definitely not something to worry about at all. And then towards the end of October, hurricane season is definitely on the downtrend, but we are still going to see a couple of tropical waves push off of Africa. Definitely still want to remain aware of what's going on out here. But a new development, it looks like the Central American gyre could potentially get going. As we go towards the end of this model run, we are going to see something that kind of looks a little tropical and has a low pressure system starting to form out here in the Central American gyre. We actually have seen some agreement with this from the GFS model as well. So is the Central American gyre coming alive kind of for a last hurrah of hurricane season? Potentially, but we're definitely going to want to watch this as it unfolds for sure as we go towards the end of hurricane season, because we have seen the Central American gyre push out storms before in late parts of hurricane season, like Helene and Milton last year. Will the storms be near the magnitude of those? Likely not, but just a reminder that hurricane season is not over, and this could be an area which we could see storms come from in late October for sure. And the last thing we're going to talk about, which we haven't talked about in a while, has been the temperatures. We're actually seeing a bit of a cold blast out in the northwestern part of the US, seeing some really cool temperatures during the day, not even breaking freezing in parts of Wyoming during the day today, then just some really, really nice weather out there. Then for the rest of the US, it looks like we're definitely starting to see a cooling trend from what we saw in summer, where it was those consistent 90s day after day. But it looks like we're starting to get into some more fall temperatures, luckily. And yeah, pretty much everywhere else in the east is not really going to see anything over 90 unless you're in Florida and Texas and even the Gulf Coast, of course. But other than that, it looks like it's going to be pretty nice temperatures everywhere else. So definitely good news there.